Hi, I'm Lori McNee with Eye on Sun Valley, and this is Art Beat. And this evening, I am sitting here with the author of The Feather Thief, and this is Kirk Wallace Johnson, and the book is about beauty, obsession, and the natural history heist of the century. So that's a mouthful, and quite a telltale thing to say. So I read the book and enjoyed it so much. And it was such a interesting book that took so many curves and twists and turns. How can you tell us in a nutshell what this fascinating story is about?
Astonishingly, this is a story about a young American flute player who broke into the British Museum of Natural History to steal $1 million worth of dead birds that he plucked and sold to this cultish community of Victorian salmon fly tyers who are obsessed with rare feathers, also that he could buy a golden flute. And the book covers a 5-year investigation where I went all over the world trying to solve the crime of what happened to the stolen birds.
And that is just amazing. And then you discovered this story while you were fishing in New Mexico. And you heard this story and then it just captivated you. How did you go on a quest to learn more to where you almost became obsessed about this story like he was obsessed about feathers?
Yeah, there's no almost about it. I was completely full-blown obsessed. I heard this story while I was waist high in the Red River in northern New Mexico. It was so bizarre as to be captivating. I didn't know anything about this subculture. I didn't know that there were feathers that were worth so much. And I had never written a book before. I just thought that there was something kind of strangely captivating about the story. And so I just started cold calling some of the names that I could find. I started entering these online forums and getting access to private Facebook groups and kind of unwittingly building a trail of evidence, all in search of these missing birds.
And so these are rare feathers is what motivated him to steal these, obviously. And then he was planning to sell them on, it's not even the black market though, is it really?
No, I mean, he sold a lot of these on eBay and
Yes.
through his own private website. But it's a strange thing. For people who know fly fishing and use trout flies, these are just ordinary looking things. But what he was selling these for was this community of men who only want to use these exotic species of birds to tie these 150-year-old recipes, they're called.
Right.
And so these guys are so obsessed with it that they will pay a small fortune to get it. And so Edwin, being one of these fly tyers, when he knew that if he could just steal them from the museum, that he would have a captive marketplace. And as soon as he pulled it off, he had people flying from all over the world to buy from him. And
how much are they paying for these feathers and for the flies themselves? They sell the flies as well, I imagine.
Some of the species of birds are $10,000 for one bird. He stole about $1 million worth of rare birds. But most of them, these are not functional flies. They're not, some of these flies require $2,000 worth of rare feathers. And these guys that spend that money are not going to cast them into the water. There's not a huge marketplace on selling those completed salmon flies. They tend to, it's a kind of it's an obsession with being able to say that you've tied every fly in this particular book, and they keep them in their own.
How do they afford that hobby?
A lot of them are fairly well-off men. It's almost entirely men that do this, and they, I've been to these fly tying conventions where, they're dropping thousands and thousands of dollars on a bird skin that they've been coveting for a long time, and some of these guys have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
And these birds were originally collected back in the 1800s by Alfred Russel Wallace,
exactly.
Correct? And the naturalist and contemporary, a little bit younger than Darwin.
That's right.
And so these, and what I found was really interesting about this story, which I didn't know, because what's the purpose of these birds? I always feel bad that they collected this many birds in the first place. but the fact that they do have value, could you explain why they are valuable to the science world?
Sure. No, it's a great question, and it's impossible to not be troubled by that.
Yes.
I mean, the British Museum has 750,000 bird skins, and these are birds that were gathered over hundreds of years.
Right.
Their guts have been removed, but they've been preserved for research. We understand evolution through natural selection by studying this collection. We know that conclusively now that mercury levels are rising in the ocean because we're able to compare the mercury concentrations in a bird from 1820 to the same species of bird gathered from the same island in 1850 and 1900.
That's amazing.
These are the deep archives of the Earth's history, and they hold answers to questions that scientists haven't even thought of yet.
Right.
And so we don't even know what answers they might yield in the coming decades or centuries, which is why it's so important that they're preserved.
And because of that heist, much of that data will be lost forever.
That's right.
Which is such a crime. And he got away with this, really. So,
did.
and that maddened you, didn't it? Quite a bit.
It did. It's a very, without giving away the book, hope people have to read the book to see how he got away with it.
I hope I didn't give it away.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You didn't at all. But,
Okay, sorry.
but no, I have a tendency. I get so excited about the story. I have a
Yes.
tendency. My publisher
It's worth
always
the
yells at
read.
me to like,
Okay.
I give away everything. But no, he never spent a night behind bars. He was given a small fine and basically sent on his way. And but in the courtroom, the museum described this as a catastrophic theft from humanity. And so when I
That's
discovered the
incredible.
story and realized that no one was even looking for the missing birds, I felt that there was a wrong here that maybe I could try to right, even if I could find some of the birds and get them returned to the museum. Maybe that would be some small way of bringing justice about.
And you did help with that, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
be sure and pick up your copy of The Feather Thief by Kirk Wallace Johnson. And thank you so much for joining me on Art Beat, where I'm keeping my eye on Sun Valley for you.